Hey, somebody's got to spray for mosquitoes. You did? Excellent. Good morning, afternoon, or evening. You are listening to the Professional Noticer.
Call it a wake-up call, gentlemen.
Here, you and I will use common sense and all the wisdom we can muster to move beyond what is true and go all the way to the truth. With listeners now in 84 countries around the world, welcome Mauritania, the Russian Federation, and Nepal. I am the Professional Noticer.
Listen carefully. I have only 10 seconds to explain to you how to leave a message on one of these machines.
Hello, everyone. I'm Andy Andrews. Hey, thank you for making me a part of your week. As the Professional Noticer, it is, of course, my job to professionally notice something for you. Nothing's off limits. So what are your questions? We got business, spiritual issues, popular culture. We even tackle the odd conundrum here, like, why is it that night falls but day breaks? My purpose here today and with every show we do is to play the part of a best friend or coach. I want to help you live the life you would live if all your toughest questions were answered. The Professional Noticer is sponsored this week by Wisdom Harbor, a brand new subscription-based web portal for only $17 a month. Members have access to every doc in Wisdom Harbor. The question and answer doc, the audiobook doc, the Bet You Didn't Know doc, the Just for Fun doc, the In Other Words doc, and lots more. WisdomHarbor.com. That's HARBOUR, WisdomHarbor.com. Go there now and take a free tour of the whole place. WisdomHarbor.com. It's a brand new web portal that folks all over the world are already using to learn and be entertained in a way that allows them to actually create measurable results in business, with their relationships, and even with their children. So go to WisdomHarbor.com and take the free 5-minute guided tour. That's Wisdom, HARBOUR.com. Observations and answers. That's what we do here. I deliver the observations and you provide the questions. Always remember the quality of your answers can only be determined by the quality of your questions. And I would love to field a question from you. You can write me. The email is theprofessionalnoticer@andyandrews.com or call 1-800-726-ANDY. That's 1-800-726-ANDY. And listen, if we use your question, the Professional Noticer will send you your choice of the Guided Traveler Experience. It's an 8-hour live video seminar, or you could choose the 100-Year Parenting, a collection of 53 videos, each between 10 and 20 minutes. So let's go to some answers. This week, our first question is from David. David is from Massachusetts. Let's listen.
Andy, good afternoon. This is David calling from Massachusetts. I've read some of your books over the years, and I've recently subscribed to your podcast, and now I'm filling my commute time by catching up on the wisdom of the Professional Noticer, and I'm hooked. Andy, quick question. A friend mentioned a bumper sticker that says, "Be more kind and less nice." Now, I've always thought that kind and nice were pretty much the same thing, but after harnessing the power of collective thought on the internet, I find the implication is that kindness comes from love, and niceness is derived from fear. I've emailed you a link to an article that references the kind versus nice debate. I wonder if you have any thoughts on that. Thank you. See you.
David, hey, thank you so much for taking the time to ask your question. And I appreciate very much that you're subscribing to the podcast and filling a lot of spare time by catching up with the Professional Noticer. I appreciate that very much. Now, I'm going to get right to this question. This is, I don't know if you're going to like this answer, but it's kind of odd to me, the be more kind and less nice, especially on a bumper sticker. And I wonder if it came from the same area of the link you gave me. Now, you're saying harnessing the power of collective thought on the internet. I want you to remember that phrase, okay? Because the implication is that kindness is from love and niceness is from fear. And here was your command to me, I guess. You said, I wonder if you have any thoughts on that. Before I could really have any thoughts on it, I did go to the link that you provided me. And David, I got to say, I'm not gonna tell everybody what the link is, and I'm not even going to tell anybody who wrote the article. I've never heard of the guy, okay? And I had not heard of that online magazine. But here's the part I don't know that if you're going to like, David. I really now obviously you just said that you're spending a lot of time listening to the professional noticer, and I appreciate that. And so I don't mean to sound weird by saying this, but this other stuff, I don't think you should spend any of your time, your brain power, your thought process on this other stuff. Now, I know there's a lot of stuff out there, but I find when something takes good and makes it bad, and then they take bad and make it good, this is something I want to stay away from. I don't want my brain working with that. I don't want to really expose myself to that. Now, I read this article. The first thing that I was just absolutely stunned at how long it was. Because I don't know how anybody could write this much confusion into a definition of two words that most people do not need defined for them. And we certainly do not need these words to be dissected and turned around to such a degree that the words no longer mean what we all know they mean. Now, I pulled out several things. This is a 7,734 word article about the difference in the word nice and the word kind. And there's several things that I highlighted here in this article that I'll read to you so the audience gets a feel for it, because I want to talk about this kind of thing. But this guy writes, he said, the nice person is focused on himself. He does nice things in order to be perceived by others as a nice person. The kind person is focused on others. All the kind person wants to do is relieve the suffering of the living, conscious creatures in the world. He goes on to write, when we dig deeper into these two personalities, we will find they're often dramatically opposed. The kind person is strong. The nice person is weak. The kind person is selfless. The nice person is selfish. The kind person feels empathy. The nice person is narcissistic. The kind person is happy. The nice person does not know happiness. Ultimately, the core of a kind person is love. The core of a nice person is fear. Now, before I just call all this crap, and I will in a minute, let me just touch a few other things that is written here, because this gets worse and worse. Listen to this. The powerful people in our world also tend to be the evil ones. Powerful people are usually the ones who have spent their lives taking power by stabbing naive, trusting, good people in the back. So ironically, what we end up with is a society filled with lots of very nice people eagerly doing the bidding of the demons and supervillains who take advantage of them. In this regard, niceness arises from selfishness, greed, and the desire for power. Niceness arises from a combination of fear, selfishness, greed, and a desire for power. Here's the last line that I highlighted. But wait, there's more. Not only does niceness arrive from an evil core, even its mode of expression is evil. Nice behavior is inherently dishonest. A nice person is secretly evil because he hides what he really wants. Okay, as I read this again, it raises my temperature again. I want to go back to one of the things that you said, David. You said harnessing the power of collective thought on the internet. Now, that also seems to be a pretty obvious statement. But one of the things that we need to remember is that, the truth has power, and things that aren't the truth, they have a certain power too, certainly if we're accepting of them. And so, the internet it's like the cleanest building and most beautiful structure you've ever seen, with horse manure piled all over the structure, and there's a white knight there, but he's wading through a sewage treatment plant. There are great things on the internet, and there are absolutely damaging things on the internet. And you have got to be discerning enough to figure out, what's wasting your time and what's, 4,000 years ago, King Solomon wrote. To me, it's one of the wisest things he ever put down, because I think this trips up a lot of people if they don't do what he wrote. And what he wrote was, stop seeking or listening to teaching that contradicts what you already know is right. Now, what he's saying there is there are certain things that they're already decided in your mind. They're already done in your mind. And I could not find a better example of just a bunch of confusing BS than 4,700 words to try to convince people that there is a massive difference between the word nice and the word kind. I think each contain each other, but I want to tell you something. Most people, it no matter what I think about the words nice and kind, everybody who is older than 5 years old has already kind of decided what they think about that. And if anything, David, it's just a time waster. It's a time waster. I mean, this is, you are me trying to write. I hate to say this, man, but, you got a lot of good things going on in your life. You are working hard to do awesome things and to create and then all of a sudden you see a bumper sticker and, I don't know how much time later, but you end up on the website with just like nutty, time, at the very least, time wasting stuff. And when I say you or me trying to write, I can sit down and I know that I am supposed to write. And I can sit down and I can go, who's that I was supposed to call? There's somebody I was supposed to call. And man, I might need to get up and go ahead and make sure these appointments are done. And I probably need a haircut. I wonder if I should get that now. Shoot. I could do with a little more research before I do this. I will talk myself right off the path that I am supposed to be on. So I just I want to warn you that that there are things that are just obviously bad for us, and then there are things that lead people to things that are pretty obvious. They're not obvious. They seem silly, but they're time wasters. They're just time wasters, and at the very least, that's what this is. David, thank you, buddy. I'm Andy Andrews, the professional noticer, harnessing common sense and wisdom to plow through challenges all the way to an answer for you. Hey, here's a thought. I know you can use Google to find the capital of Norway or the answer to how bushels convert to gallons, but where do you seek wisdom? There's a difference in knowledge and wisdom. Knowledge will get you a degree. Wisdom will allow you to keep your job when everybody else is being laid off. Say you memorize an encyclopedia. Does that help you as a parent? Does it create peace in your family? Pure knowledge without the wisdom to apply that knowledge in the proper way is more than useless. Sometimes it's flat out harmful. Allow me to suggest wisdomharbor.com. That's wisdom, H-A-R-B-O-U-R. Harbor with an O-U-R, because it's ours. This is our harbor. Wisdomharbor.com. Go there now, be welcomed by a friend of yours, and get a free 5-minute guided tour. Our next question is from Cliff. He's from Houston. Let's listen.
Hi, Andy. Big problems here. Our 21-year-old son is relapsed after rehab. He was clean, on fire for God, ambitiously expanding his business, visiting us often, attending his meetings in church, witnessing and trying to help out his drug-using buddies. He's refused to make new friends and has kept hanging out with other users. Of course, that didn't help his new life and soon was doing as his friends were doing. 2 of the friends are dead now. One overdosed and one with drug and drug dealer problems has committed suicide. Still another has been committed to a mental institution after using spice. But of course, our son says they were using different drugs than he uses and that he's got it handled. He has an apartment here in Houston, only a few miles from where we live. As parents, we had honored all his boundaries and only gave advice if asked. When he began using again, I asked him to come and talk. He never came. Then he stopped visiting at all or even speaking when we see him. As before, we're the enemy when he's using. I go from being his best friend dad to garbage again. He's cut ties with my brother and our family friends also. I've tried to get a couple of great guys my son's age to hang with him, but something's in the way there too because they never do. This despite them knowing our son and our son knowing them. I don't even know how to make this happen. Can you help? Thanks.
Cliff. I am so sorry. Thank you for taking the time. And I guess there would be a great, I put myself in your position. There had to be a great deal of trust and a great deal of hurt to have you even leave this message. And I just got to tell you, man, as a dad, I just hurt for you. A 21-year-old and has relapsed after rehab. And there's something in here, Cliff, that really keeps just like hitting me. I just can't put it down. And I know you know this, but I've got to say, you're right that trying to help out his buddies who are also using drugs and refusing to make new friends and then hanging out with other users, it's just it's a recipe for disaster, especially for anybody that has gotten out of rehab. It goes against everything anybody tells them to do. Anybody, nobody's recommending that when you get out of here, you go back to the same situations that you've been in. And I can't imagine having the friends die, and because I'm certain you probably knew them too. Your family probably knew them too, and then the other one having massive problems after using spice. You said that as parents, you'd honored all his boundaries and only gave advice if asked. Now, I'm going to assume there that you are saying as he became an adult, you were honoring his boundaries. Because I'm assuming that we're not talking about a 12-year-old. This is not how you treat him with a 12-year-old when he was 12, right? This is not how you treated him when he was 12, right? I mean, at 12, there are boundaries, but you don't necessarily honor all the boundaries, and you don't only give advice if asked, not with a 12-year-old. So I'm going to assuming that when you say as parents you'd honored his boundaries and only gave advice if asked, that there was a time that he seemed to be doing well. And he was, I'm guessing, like 18, 19, 20, something like this. I don't know how long this has been going on. The fact that he does not want to talk and stops visiting, that tells me he is entrenched. Now, it also tells me that he knows what he's going to hear when he comes to the house. And he's probably right. Don't you think? I mean, I don't think you're just going to sit around and say, "Hey, everything you're doing is okay." And you're going to talk to him about it, and he knows that. And so he's not showing up. I want to comment on one other thing that I heard down here. And after I comment on that, I want to give you my overview of this and what I think you can do. Everything you say, Cliff, seems very straightforward. I don't have, there's no little snap that comes up from any of it to me, except when you say that he's cut ties with your brother and family friends, and then you say that you've tried to get a couple of guys that are your son's age to hang with him, but something is in the way there. And you say they're great guys, get a couple of great guys, my son's age, to hang with him, but something is in the way there because they never do. And this despite them knowing our son and our son knowing them. And you say, I don't even know how to make this happen. Well, I hate to tell you this, buddy, but you're not going to make that happen. Okay. You know how you said that you knew it was a problem when your son was hanging out with users. Okay. These guys that you say are great guys, and they're staying away from your son, and despite encouragement, they're not hanging out with your son. Buddy, your son is a user. Right now, your son is the guy that those other guys' parents have said to stay away from. And if they have, they're young, they're impressionable, they don't need to be working with addicts at their age. And so that's, if they have any wisdom at all, even without their parents, this is why they're staying away. Now, it just sounds awful, because I feel for you, because I know you got to be dying to have somebody with some kind of influence or some kind of friend there for your son. And I think there is where you find an older young person, Okay. I mean, to find somebody that actually cares, and maybe that would be, at your church. I don't know. But to find somebody who's, if your son's 21, to find somebody who's 26 or 27 that can still be young enough to hang with your son and for your son to like them and appreciate it, but old enough and straight enough and wise enough to also have some authority with your son. And other than that, and assuming you're not going to throw him in a van somewhere and tie him up, there's not much you're going to be able to do, Cliff, right now, because your son's 21. Now, in Houston, I do know an incredible bunch of people. You're in Houston, and I know there is a thing called Youth Reach, and they're a nonprofit that really they don't take any government money either, so they operate on donations, but they take young people, young men, as young guys, or they got to be older. I think older than 16, and they've got to be younger than 22. So your son would still qualify there, and they go in, and 4 guys live in a house with 1 counselor, and these guys, they work, they study together, but they've got some pretty constant, what would you call it? Pretty constant presence and in terms of people who become their friends, their mentors. It's a pretty amazing program, but here's the catch. Your son, they make it where they can leave at any time. Only your son can check himself in. You can find out about it, but only your son can say, yes, I will do this. Yes, this will be a way to my becoming clean, sober, and so. But your son can also leave when he wants to. But I would really, I would really suggest you look into that, and I also would suggest that for your sanity and for the purpose of having a clear pathway for your son to travel, I would do everything I could within my mental and emotional control. I'd give your son to God. There's nothing you can do at this point. You could create a situation for him with that friend. You could make him aware of Youth Reach. But at this point, he's 21. And I suspect the only thing that you can do at this point for sure is to make him absolutely avoid you. You can make that happen. But as far as creating some kind of waving some magic wand and making right choices for him, that can't be done. And so when I say, for your own sanity, I would entrust your son to God. You have no choice but to release your son into God's care. I know God's presence will be with him, wherever he goes. And I think God's presence will be with you too, Cliff. And I would, if I were you, Google the phrase Hedge of Thorns. Hey, Google Hedge of Thorns Bible. In the Traveler's Gift, I wrote about the Hedge of Thorns that had been around Joshua Chamberlain and how those miracles occurred around Chamberlain because of that hedge of thorns that were protecting him. And so if you want a recommendation of a prayer, I would pray a hedge of thorns around your son, that these outside influences would leave him and that he would be in that cocoon where he can't leave to do the crazy things that are destroying his life. Buddy, as a dad, I feel for you, and know that I'll say a few prayers for him too. Okay? Okay. All right, everybody. That just about does it for this week's episode. If you appreciate this podcast, I would appreciate you going to iTunes and giving us a nice review. 5 stars. Your reviews on iTunes, 5 stars, determine prominent placement for a podcast. Your reviews determine that. And without your reviews, the professional noticer is down in the pack, hidden from being easily found by someone who might need to hear what you and I are talking about. So please head on over to iTunes and do your best, okay? And I think that'll do it for this week. Get us out of here, Matthew. So, ladies and gentlemen, and to the boys and girls who aspire to become ladies and gentlemen, we've reached the end of another episode of The Professional Noticer. In a world where common sense has become a superpower, I'm harnessing that tiny bit of mental energy I have for you, seeking wisdom, making observations, and endeavoring to answer tough questions in a way that will empower your family and your business. I'm Andy Andrews. Until next week, smile while you talk. Shake hands with the kids you meet and make sure you have an answer to the question, why have we never seen the headline, Psychic Wins Lottery? And so, until next week, goodbye. This episode of The Professional Noticer was produced by Matt Limpert. The Noticer theme, written and performed by Sugarcane Jane. Prel shampoo, provided by Twinkle and Smoke of Beverly Hills. Additional financial consideration provided by TunaSaladSculptors.com. Friends, do you have a wedding reception to plan? Is there a formal event you are holding in the near future? To really make the impression you desire, contact TunaSaladSculptors.com. They can create a presentation table that will be the talk of your local society pages. Can't you just imagine the statuary of your choice created only with skillfully designed tuna salad? Perhaps you'd prefer the faces of the bride and groom, complete likenesses carved from nothing more than canned tuna, mayonnaise, and pickle relish. Your options are unlimited when you choose a tuna salad sculptor for your event. You can choose according to theme. For history nuts, these talented artists can replicate the head of every president of the United States, beginning with George Washington. For movie buffs, how about Sean Connery's face done in tuna salad, completely surrounded by crackers and chips? And don't forget the kids, discounts are provided for tuna salad Mr. Rogers and tuna salad Big Bird. Order your centerpiece today. That's TunaSaladSculptors.com.